Bung Pod. Welcome back, Wine Wonder Boy.
And we got Jazzy J. Jazzy!
What is a bung?
The hole of the barrel is called a bung hole. Inside the bung hole is called a bung. Wine with mayhem. That's what it's about. All right, welcome back to the Bung Pod. It's your boy Ian King, a.k.a. Wine Wonder Boy, and we have Jazzy J in the building as well.
Hello, everybody.
Whatever you're listening this on, whatever platform, please rate us. Ideally, 5 stars would be nice. Just helps people notice us and our podcast get discovered, and more people will listen to it. Ooh, I love that sound. We have an awesome podcast episode for you today. I'm excited about this because I love his wines. We have Tyler Armour here, winemaker and owner of Armour Wines.
You got it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah.
I know I wanted to do this a long time ago, and I'm so glad that we got it figured out.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a few years. We've been trying to sit down and chat. So
yeah, I feel like since I moved to Woodinville, I was like bummed. I was like, man, I might not get a chance.
It might not work. Yeah,
it might not work, but I'm glad we got it to work. We're here in his facility right now. If you're listening to this, it's an awesome little facility. How many cases do you make again?
We're doing 1,100 cases.
1,100.
And gosh, I don't know what the square footage is. Small.
Yeah, that's pretty tiny. But I feel like I see your wines like everywhere. So
yeah, we're getting them out there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a battle.
So what do we have here today?
I popped the Carbo Barbo, the
Carbo
2023
Barbo.
Carbo Barbo. So
nice.
Full carbonic Barbera.
Barbera.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been a fun
Barbera.
one.
I love a good carbonic.
Yeah, we're all in on the carbonic. Mm-hmm. Started with the Gamay Noir that we make, and then it was just like, what else can I carbonic? And it's been a journey. Like, I think the Barbera was next, and then we do a Mourvedre as well that's full carbonic. And then our red blend Le Hush is half Pinot, half Syrah, and the Pinot's full carbonic.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
So do you want to explain the carbonic process to our listeners?
Yeah, let's get right into carbonic. I love this.
Yes, I'm here for it.
Carbonic is like a winemaker's dream, in my opinion, because you bring in the whole cluster grapes, and put them in a tank, or just leave them in the the harvest bin, and basically seal the bin up. And I push a little bit of CO2 gas in just to lift out the oxygen or the air. But other than that, you just seal it up and let it chill for 2 weeks. So like I said, winemaker's dream, you bring it in and don't touch it for 2 weeks. Tuck it in the corner and
don't look at it.
Don't look at it and do all your other stuff. But yeah, the carbonic process, when you're putting that CO2 in, it gets all the oxygen out. And in a no oxygen environment, it goes through a special process where it breaks down inside out basically and releases all these fun flavors and aromas. And
what a beautiful color too you have on here.
Yeah.
So we have kind of like a violet, I would say like a violet color on here. Slightly red, purple.
Oh yeah,
medium opacity for sure. But it's so interesting because this wine drinks a lot lighter than it looks. Because when you look at it, you're like, okay, there's going to be, it's going to be a medium body wine with, some tannins in the back. But this is very, very plush. You definitely get that carbonic pop that you get with like a Beaujolais, right? And then...
Well, and I'm just a fan of Barberas in general. Yeah. And you don't really see them a lot in this area.
No.
Yeah.
I think the Barbera is like our last ripening fruit of the year. Mm-hmm. Like every year it's stress inducing because it's like winter's coming and the Barbera is still hanging. Mm-hmm. So it tends to be a bigger wine just because it's hanging longer, but we have to let it hang because the acid's also screaming high.
Yeah. I'm getting like a watermelon grape Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, right.
I got the watermelon too.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah.
Perfect for a hot summer day.
Dude, you can crush this. I would crush this.
Straight up. Yeah.
Porch
pounder, baby.
Yes. I refer to all of our wines as porch pounders.
There you go. Hey, I love porch pounder. Yeah. That's the
important.
kind of era I'm in right now with wine. Yeah, the porch pounders.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think since it's it's a little bit riper coming off, like you do get like a little bit more of a plushness to it, but you get those fun like crunchy tannins from the carbonic and the just like the pop of the carbonic on the nose is really fun.
Yeah.
No, this is a very crunchy wine, and I love that you make kind of the crunchy style.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what would your tasting notes be on it? I mean, you've given a little, but let's hear it from the winemaker.
Yeah, this is like newly bottled. It is released, but newly bottled. And I haven't done my creative writing yet and came up with my tasting notes. But I think a lot of what you guys are saying, like the hard candy, I feel like that across the board on the carbonics, you get that like the Jolly Rancher, like the grape and the watermelon. But then also there's some like herbaceousness to it and like earthiness. I think Barbera tends to have like that just like meaty soil.
Yeah, definitely.
Italian dank cellar.
Totally.
Feel to it.
Yeah, it does.
Totally.
I mean, which is fun.
Yeah.
Like, I love Barberas. Like Italian Barberas are beautiful. But I love like what you did with it is, it's epic. Like I would drink this every single day,
So where do you get most of your grapes from? I see what it says, but.
Yeah. So this Barbera is down the Wallach Slope. I'd say we get most of our fruit off the Royal Slope.
Okay.
But I mean, just by a little, like we get from all around the state, really. So basically, just find growers that we like to work with, that are doing, good growing that we don't have to, worry about them too much. And so really like Walla Walla, the Yakima Valley, Wallach Slope, Royal Slope, Ancient Lakes. Our Mourvedre comes from the Ancient Lakes.
Okay.
And
what other wines are you making besides the Barbera?
Yes. Okay. So a few. So for our spring releases, which the Barbera is the spring release for us, we have our Chersiez, which is our Viognier.
Okay. I love a Viognier.
Say it one more time.
Yeah, exactly. Chersiez. I was just talking with someone about this the other day. It's the green label right there.
Okay.
We were talking about how a lot of people have problems pronouncing Viognier, like you get the Voigner and all the
Viogner.
Yeah.
We have one where I work in every single time.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining. But
and then like I was joking, like I named the wine like something even harder to pronounce than Viognier, in retrospect. But Chersiez.
And how'd you get that name?
Yeah, exactly. I was reading some book about the history of the Rhone Valley, and they used to call Viognier Chersiez.
Okay.
Some little tiny village somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's a synonym that went out of date, and we thought it'd be fun to put it on the wine bottle, but it's a mouthful.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool though. I like that.
Yeah. So Chersiez Viognier off the Royal Slope, and then we do a rosé, like a field blend rosé, out of an East Wenatchee vineyard, and then again, this is all spring release. The Carbo Barbo is a spring release, and then our Je T'aime Gamay Noir is a spring release as well.
Cool.
Yes.
And then fall releases, we do. Let's see, what do we do? We have the La Huche Red Blend, the only blend that we're currently doing, Pinot Syrah, 3 different Syrahs, and then a Mourvedre. So that's 5, yeah.
Mourvedres are fun too.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I love that.
That's been pretty consistent, like that lineup the last few years. We did do a Tempranillo this last year that's in barrel currently. So
ooh, fun. I like Tempranillos too.
Yeah.
Those are always a good one.
Yeah.
So why did you pick those particular grapes?
Yes. We do all whole cluster. Well, I guess for the reds, we do all whole cluster fermentation. So working with varieties that works out and it makes sense. So it started with Syrahs, just because it's pretty classic to have whole cluster Syrahs.
Yeah.
Did you ever, so with doing only whole cluster, when you were early on in the process of, I guess when you were a little bit more green, I guess, as a winemaker or your label, did you ever run into the issue with your wines being too stemmy or too green?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah. So I've seen that a lot where like people will, like a Syrah maybe, or I've seen it in Grenache as well with people picking early and then also doing whole cluster. I get like a lot of those kind of pyrazine-y green.
Yeah. I don't, we have one, we got Syrah from a new vineyard this last harvest. and it is on the greener side, like probably the greenest that we've made.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that's probably like the first time I've kind of ran into it, but I don't know. It's just, I look a lot at the stems, I guess. I know people have said like chew on the stems and see what that tastes like. I don't chew on the stems, but I look at the stems and try and not pick when they're like ferociously green and like tannin bombs.
Definitely.
It's a balancing act to make sure things are ripe, but not too ripe. But
I know Brandon Moss from Gramercy, because they are known for picking really early.
Yeah.
And there are some of the first ones out there, usually, especially in the Red Willow vineyard.
Yeah.
And he was saying like, you don't, because they do a lot of whole cluster, and he was saying you don't really need the stems to be completely lignified in order to do whole cluster. I think that is, we say a misconception or an assumption that people make. If you just chew on the stems, and then if they're a little sweet, then you can use them for it. But if they're strong tannins,
maybe I need to start chewing on stems.
I don't know. Yeah. It seems like you're doing a great job so far. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's so picking varieties kind of based off of that, stuff that we can do whole cluster. And then varieties that I just like to drink too, I guess. Like Gamay Noir, like we drink a ton of Beaujolais at home, and
yes.
I love.
We have to hang out, man.
Yeah, I love.
We have.
I love like slightly
Gammays are so
chilled,
yummy.
like red wines. Like I think a lot of times people serve reds way too warm around here.
Yeah, way too warm,
especially
and then
when
white's
it's 110
too cold.
out.
Yeah,
and I still want that red wine, but not the same temperature as the outside world.
Yeah. So, what is your wine club like? Like the release?
Yeah, we've got a wine club. We focus a lot on wholesale, like distribution and stuff. And we don't have a tasting room. So a wine club is, I think, maybe a little bit of a challenge. Like we don't have a spot for them to hang out. But we do release parties in the spring and the fall.
Yeah. You do special events here in your facility.
In the facility, so it's a smaller wine club, but we try and promote it.
So do you promote it mostly like word of mouth, and then they can sign up online, or is it? Yeah,
we're
in person.
Mostly in person.
Okay.
Because I don't even think it's on the website. We're dropping the ball on that one. My wife's going to hear this and say, I told you so. We should probably focus on wine club more, because it's great. Like we have,
it's easy money.
Yeah. And I mean,
loyal customers.
Yeah. They're like great people. Like they're all the people that really want to sit there and like hang out with you and drink your wine. And
support you.
It's maybe like a 30 to 40 people in the club currently.
Oh,
but yeah, no.
And is it like a 3-bottle club, 6-bottle?
Yeah, 6-bottle club.
Okay.
So twice a year. So in the spring, 6 bottles, and in the fall, 6 bottles. So try and make it doable.
For everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to like do a full case in the spring and the fall, I'll sign you up for that. So.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Have you ever done like, do you have a lot of wine club members on the west side and stuff where you could do like west side pickups?
We just have one member on the west side.
Okay.
And we ship to her. Cool. Or like if we head over that way to meet with our distributor and stuff, we'll drop wine and stuff. But it's mostly here in the valley.
Okay.
For sure.
And because you do wholesale, where can we find your wines?
I should have had a cheat sheet in front of me here. So over in Seattle, we're with Venea Imports currently.
Okay.
And they get the wine from like Bellingham down to Olympia on the west side.
Okay, awesome.
And they're just doing the west side for us. We kind of handle Eastern Washington. Yeah. But over on the west side, we're at quite a few of the Sea Creatures restaurants.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the names off the top of my head. The one in the dome. What is the dome? The biodome. I forgot. The sphere or something. Yeah. Anyway, Wilmot's Ghost. There we go.
Yeah.
But that doesn't. Yeah, it's in the sphere or something. Anyways,
fun.
That's downtown, right?
Yeah, downtown. Yeah. Atoma is a great restaurant up in I think Wallingford. Great people, and like they move through a decent amount of our wine there.
Are you guys at Live Bud at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's a heavy restaurant group. and they're like a vegetarian kind of restaurant, and they
probably eat this up.
And they also are, they have a lot of natural wine selections.
Okay.
And I feel like you'd fit in really well there.
Yeah.
I'll give the wine buyer a call.
There you go.
We had him on the podcast once.
Okay.
Yeah, for Purple, Chris Horn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really awesome guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never met Chris, but
he's a great dude.
Heard the name
He's
sure.
the wine buyer for Purple Cafe and all the restaurants for heavy restaurant groups. So
yeah. I was telling you earlier that we just started working with Venea, so I kind of knew where the wines were a month or two ago, but now they're further and farther. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So where did you how'd you get into the winemaking?
I went to school for winemaking. I was down at WSU as
Go
well.
Cougs.
Yeah, right. Go Cougs. Both my wife and I are Cougs. We were in Pullman, and I was, I think, one of the last classes where they let you do the V&E program out of Pullman before they switched it all down to the Tri-Cities. So,
okay, gotcha.
Graduated in 2010 down there. So,
fun.
It was food science.
Cool.
Down there. I guess I went from general studies and then food science because I started working at the creamery making the Cougar Gold cheese.
Oh,
yes.
cool.
Yeah.
I noticed the Cougar Gold over there.
Yeah, that's the dog water bowl. So
yeah, hey, perfect water bowl.
Exactly. Made cheese and studied cheese making for a few years, and then took.
Were you wanting to be a cheesemonger?
It was fun. I mean, I've worked at a number of bakeries, and I always ferment stuff. Something's always fermented on the counter.
That's cool.
And so cheese was this could be a career. And then took an elective course in wine. And it was whoa, I need to switch.
Is this the one where they let you drink in class?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh God, that was such a good class.
Yeah. It was a no brainer. I went straight to the counselor or whatever. And I was I need to switch. And luckily it was an easy switch because food science.
You probably had most of the classes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
I was over warm milk. It was a time of my life.
Yeah. I remember getting in that class and was just hyped.
Yeah.
And then, go to the Coug right after.
Yep.
Because might as well. If you're going to start early, keep going.
Oh, boy, yeah.
I like Valhalla.
Yeah, 80s night of Valhalla.
Yeah.
It was a good time. So studied at WSU, graduated in 2010. I was assistant winemaker for Mary Sellers in Pullman at the time.
Patrick's amazing.
Yeah.
I love both of them. So I worked with Banyans.
Oh, okay, the golf course out there.
Yeah, so I was one of their catering managers the whole time I was at WSU. And obviously we did a lot of events with Patrick and them. Yeah. They are just phenomenal people. Yeah,
I learned a lot of good things from Patrick, including how to properly drink. So
there you go.
Yes.
Important parts.
And I told you this story. I went to Pullman. For those of you, so we have listeners outside of Washington State that don't know what Pullman is. That is where Washington State University is. They're the rival to University of Washington Huskies in Seattle. It's on the eastern side of the state, but I went there for
better side of the state.
Better side of the state. I went there for a homecoming game. My girlfriend, she's a Coug. She's like a legacy sorority Coug over there. And so I went with her, and I was a little sick. I had a cold. It's just my sinuses were stuffed up.
Yeah. Whatever.
And I was
don't let that slow you down. Come on.
And I was I don't want to talk
to. He's not a true Coug.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm not a true Coug. I went for viticulture online. Yeah. But I've always been a Coug growing up in general. So I've always repped the gear and cheered for them. But anyways, I didn't want to drink beer because I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be on my Coors Light game the whole day. I can drink Coors Lights all day and I'm good. Yeah. But I was a little stuffed up, and I was like, well, beer is going to stuff me up more. I don't want that. And I don't want to talk to people.
Does beer normally stuff you up?
No.
Okay.
Not necessarily. Okay. But when I'm sick, I just feel it a lot. And I was like, you know what clears my sinuses? It's ginger beer and whiskey. And so I'm going to do whiskey gingers the whole time. But the thing is, I was drinking them like Coors Lights.
Oh, no.
And I just, man, it was rough. We went to the game. I fell asleep in the second quarter, and I woke back up halfway through the second quarter. Went to Valhalla, had some of their wings, which is needed, definitely needed, and then some Coors Lights, and I was like, I am going to pass out, and so I was like trying to hobble my way back to where we were staying, and it was rough. It was
almost
so
sums
bad.
up like the 6 years or whatever that I was in Pullman. So
there is times, especially when you like, if you could go to the dunes prior to a game, you're just hammered before, and you're just like, yeah, no, I'm great. And I think one time I tried to sneak like a fifth of Fireball in. I'm like, how stupid are you? Like, that really was gonna sneak in.
Classic.
But
wow.
Good times over there.
Yeah.
But Patrick, back to that, is a great person.
Yeah. So I was at Maricelli's for quite a few years, which was great. I mean, because a lot of the other V&E kids, didn't get that hands-on experience.
No.
Because WSU is very like, it's like books, winemaking, like a lot of the deep science behind winemaking. So it was good to have like the hands-on and practical side of it.
I'm honestly surprised there's not at least one or two more wineries over there
I know,
that I'm aware of, at least.
Yeah. I mean, there was a few, I feel like, but I mean, with how many like people come into town and like
Mom's weekend.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's Parents' weekend now, but for those weekends, that was like always a stop for us.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, so you went to Chelan after that?
No. So right after WSU, I graduated in December of 2010.
Okay.
So January of 2011, went down to Australia.
Fun.
What part?
Western Australia, down in Margaret River.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
awesome.
So epic beaches.
Yeah.
So down there for 6 months, making wine and hanging out on the beach.
6 months?
Yeah.
That's a while.
Yeah.
That's a long while.
Yeah. 6 month visa we used every day of the
Every
6
day
month
of it.
visa.
I was supposed to go to Tasmania and make Pinot
Some
Noir,
Pinot,
Chardonnay, and some traditional method, sparkling.
Yep.
And then COVID happened.
Oh, bummer. Yeah. You got to get down there if you can.
Yeah, I was going to
good.
go there for a harvest, but yeah, I definitely want to go down there at some point. But yeah, I love that area.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It was at a bigger facility. So I got to experience like my tank farm winemaking, which definitely helped steer how I want to make wine a bit, like not in a tank farm.
Yeah, so
Understandable.
I was going to ask you, so coming from Wazoo and their program, how did you get into making, I'm going to say low intervention wines, because I don't like the natural term.
Yeah.
Unless
kind of natural.
Yeah, because it has a bad connotation because there's so many natural wines out there with a bunch of wine faults and they're just gross. And I usually call them natty wines.
Yeah.
When they're like that, and then low intervention when they're high quality like yours with no wine faults and taste beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, you walk the walk,
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, you can say a lot of things, but you show it, and that's important. And, I love what you do. So how did you get into making this style of wine?
Yeah. So I think, kind of go back to the tank farm and just other wineries I've worked for, just seeing how wine can be made with all of the junk that can be added and all the manipulation and things taken away and things added. And it's just not, it's like, wow, that's horrible. Like if I make wine ever, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then I think with that, and then just wines that I was tending to like be drinking were just kind of low intervention wines, and I think just the combination of those two is like
how'd you start like drinking those styles of wines?
Yeah, that's a good question. So after Australia, went to Woodinville. I worked a harvest for DeStefano Winery. Just a harvest gig. And then I was at a place called Barron's. It was Barron's 5 when I started, but then just became Barron's.
Okay.
Lots of big cabs and stuff. There was a guy that worked there that had a great knowledge in wine and shared lots of good wines. And
cool.
I feel like they tended to lean towards, that's where I feel like I ran into Beaujolais for the first time. And it was like, oh,
beautiful.
man.
Okay.
Yeah.
this is changing my life.
So what would you like? Because I feel like a lot of people, especially in Washington, really don't drink Beaujolais.
Yeah.
So at least in our region,
yes,
they definitely don't. How would you explain it to someone that, you know, they see this on a menu?
Yeah.
Like why they should pick that over whatever else?
Yeah. Well, I guess, like the style of Beaujolais, at least in my mind, is like fruit forward. Like,
yep.
And that's like when we're making wines, like I want to make wines that like the first thing you smell or taste is like the fruit. Like I don't want it to be covered up with too much oak or,
right.
I want it to be like bright and fresh and like those, and again, like those crunchy tannins, like, like this isn't like big syrupy wine that I'm trying to make. So, just light and fresh, acid driven, good with food is important.
I think it's great with food.
We do a lot of cooking at home, and it's important that the wines can handle the food and the food the wine. So
definitely.
I think this goes really well with like, I mean, a lot of people usually they tend to make more like fish or poultry kind of at home a lot, and I feel like this really goes well with any of those. Like this could be a killer Thanksgiving wine. This goes well with like we go well
summer
with halibut.
barbecue.
I was like just about to say the summer barbecue.
It can really stand up to it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's very refreshing and just, I mean,
this was duck.
Definitely a.
Oh, sure.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Let's go.
This is definitely a great one to chill for like that summer on the porch.
Yeah.
Enjoying an evening.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like with our rosé and white, like, you know, down in the ice, but then a lot of our reds, like just sitting up on top of the ice is like perfect because they get a little bit of that chill, but
not
too much of it.
Yeah.
You can still taste all the profiles in it, but it's a little chilled down.
Yeah.
You did a pop-up tasting at Norwood in Wenatchee.
Yeah, we do those somewhat frequently.
Yeah, and you're just down the road, essentially.
Yeah.
Kind of.
In town here.
Yeah.
Wenatchee's
across
not big.
town, I guess.
Across town.
Very small town, but across the small city of Wenatchee. I was trying really hard to be there for it.
Yeah.
I was there at Seth Kitsky's because I went to his because like we've never met in person. And I just wanted to chat with him because we've been kind of DMing here and there, back and forth for a few years. And I was like, well, he's coming to Wenatchee, and I was living in Chelan at the time, so I was like, I'll come down for that. And I was really trying hard to come to yours, but I was also working as a cellar master.
Yeah.
And the day went long, and I was like super bummed because I was trying to make it down in time, but I couldn't. So
there will be more pop-ups.
I'm glad, and I'll be there for him because I haven't really tried a lot of your wines. I mean, I've had your Gamay.
Yep.
Because they have Gamay at Sorel on the list there, which is awesome. They do all Washington wines for their whole restaurant. But I've never tried this one, and I've looked at your website a bunch of times. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see what they got here.
They had a wine club on that website.
Yeah. Oh, geez, gosh, I'm not gonna hear the end of it.
Yeah. At some point, I'll figure out a way to sign up for it because this is like my style of wine. So, what you do is
so
amazing.
the Carbo Barbo has been a real fun one. And I think people like just saying Carbo Barbo too. Like
Carbo Barbo is a great name for this.
Yeah, it was definitely like a dad joke sitting around the table, like Carbonic Barbera, Carbo Barbo.
Yeah.
And the kids laughed, and I was like, yes,
we're doing that.
And now we're naming wines dad jokes. So
yeah.
That's
I
fun,
I also love your aesthetic, like on your labels.
I was going to ask you about
the design looks great.
The design.
Yeah. So
I feel like there was a children influence there.
No, we paid a professional designer to help us do it.
Saw the
the children
drawing
put
over
drawings
there.
up around the winery, of the wine bottles, which I'm sure we're going to get called into school sometime, like when they're drawing like wine or something, or I'm sure we'll get in trouble for that down the road. A friend of a friend that's a graphic designer for a brewery up in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
We worked with him, and our heliotrope Syrah, which it's not in this room, we can't see it. It's a pink label, like pink and purple.
Cool.
That was the first one. And we wanted like a design that we could just kind of change the colors on and like evolve wine to wine.
Yeah.
But like even if like on the Carbo Barbo here, it doesn't say Armour on the front, but you still kind of you can recognize it's the
logo. Yeah,
the logo that it's an Armour wine. So, and it's been fun like finding color combinations for the different wines and
that's really fun.
And people are like constantly asking like, what is it? Like what is the design? Because it's kind of like a bumpy rainbow.
Yeah,
maybe,
or like a flower kind of.
Yeah, so I think someone said a bumpy rainbow, and so we made our rosé
I did notice the bumpy rainbow over there.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and then I just heard someone thought they saw this on the shelf and they thought it was a sheep.
Okay.
You seeing it?
Okay.
Yeah, I could see the sheep.
I can see the wool. Yeah.
So apparently we got sheep wine or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So for the Helio, you took me through like a little tour before this episode, and I saw the Helio was labeled on the sandstone jar.
It is indeed, yeah.
So take me through the process of why a sandstone jar.
Yeah, so again, like all of our reds, thank you. All our reds, whole cluster, and all neutral French oak. So again, just trying to make sure we're, seeing fruit first, not covering it up with, too much new oak and stuff.
So you don't do any new French oak?
We don't do any new oak at all. No. Maybe eventually like very small amounts here and there, but, it's expensive too. And we're a startup winery. So
it is. And I understand the reason, but when I was making wine I was planning my own label at one point, and I was like, I'm not going to use French oak, like new oak for anything. Like there's no point because I don't like the, aggressive clove vanilla flavor usually, unless it needs it with like a Nebbiolo or like a, like a big cab or something, but that's not something that I would make personally.
Yep.
And so it's funny because I did like a whole business plan and I had like all the great varieties lined up, and a lot of them are similar to what you're doing, but like, it's really cool to see that because I've, think that is missing a lot in Washington State, especially. Cause I was inspired by Sonoma and they're doing like Trousseau Noir, Trousseau Gris and Gamay and a bunch of fun stuff.
Yeah. And in like vessels that aren't offering a bunch of oak flavor, like
exactly more fresh style, and that's something that I think is beautiful and something I can drink every single day. Like I could probably drink this whole bottle by myself. To be honest,
let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well,
we're surrounded by walls of wine,
economics,
so we can just keep going.
And like economics too. It's like, okay, I'm not paying like up to what $1,500 a barrel for new French oak, or up to like $900 a barrel for new American. I might I'll go to another winery, buy their used oak for like $80 to $100 or something like that, and then it just economics and also my personal profile, my palate. It just synced up. I'm just like that. Just makes makes more sense.
I feel like with the Beaujolais style, like how you initially said, fruit forward, and once you bring in that new French oak, you're just pulling that away.
Covering it up.
You're getting those oaky flavors. And I feel like it's not always necessary.
And
I want to see what the fruit can do.
A small winery too, like all of our lots are very small. So like one barrel in like a lot is, going to end up being like 25% of the final volume. Or it's not like if we were a bigger winery, you could maybe sneak in some new French oak. That wouldn't, it would be a lower percentage, but we're good with the neutral oak for now. But back to the sandstone tank. Just looking for other vessels that offered that, a storage vessel that's not imparting, flavors and tannins and aromas. So and the sandstone's been fantastic.
Is this your first vintage with it?
No, the previous vintage was the first. So we have our Viognier. So we ferment our Viognier in there, and then pull it out after it's done fermenting, and then age our Heliotrope Syrah. For 10 months in there.
Fun.
And it's just a portion of the final blend. So it ends up being like a third sandstone, third normal barrels, and then a third puncheons. So big barrels.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Big puncheons. I didn't see a puncheon back there. Or did I just miss it?
They're right here next to you.
Oh, hey.
Look at
What's
that.
up, guys? Big puncheons.
Yeah, and sandstone, we were talking earlier how I like it better than concrete. Concrete's kind of fussy. Like, you have to be careful cleaning it, and like you have to coat the inside with the tar crystals.
The
and
acid,
and the sandstone's like it's a fired sandstone, so it's gone through a kiln, and it's like pretty indestructible.
Yeah.
But it like, from what I've been told, like it breathes very similar to barrels, where concrete can be a bit tighter.
Okay, I was wondering about
clay
the OTR
is like a bit
on
looser.
there. Yeah.
The sandstone is apparently like right along lines of barrels. So
really?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Okay, cool.
So like it's my jam basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
I love that.
And yeah, we would. I think we'll probably get more like for sure, and maybe bigger ones. But again, they're expensive.
They are expensive. They are very expensive.
So, are you from the Wenatchee area originally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Born and raised in Wenatchee, both my wife and I. So.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Did you guys know each other before WSU?
Yep. High school.
Oh,
Hey.
high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's adorable.
Yeah. Both went to WSU. So she's international business and German. So.
Oh wow.
Whoa,
Okay.
look at that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
The business helps.
Yeah.
We're not using the German a whole lot currently. So.
Yeah, you're not making Rieslings.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I might make a Riesling this year.
Or Mueller Turgau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Well, and how often is she very involved with the winemaking and everything?
Winemaking during harvest and bottling, yes, absolutely. The rest of the year she leaves it up to me.
Makes sense.
But like she does a lot of the business side of it.
Okay.
I would be lost without her on that.
That's
which
awesome.
That's kind of like our relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Jasmine.
Yeah.
So she's like more like on the business side, and I don't
important.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more of the production person.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of things to do. Yeah. This isn't my job, which at some point that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get there one day.
Talk about
Baby
wine.
step.
Yeah.
Just drink for a living and interview people.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a bad gig.
It's pretty great.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And I like talking about wine, so it's fun. You get to meet a really awesome community.
Yeah. So do you have any issues with like, cause you do native fermentations, unfined, unfiltered.
Yep.
Do you have any issues with native fermentations at all? Like, do you find anything getting stuck ever, or?
Fortunately, haven't had any like epic stucks.
Yeah.
Our 2022 Carbo Barbo, we're drinking the 23 currently. Stopped at like the very end with just a little bit of sugar in it.
Yeah.
Which like if we opened a 22 right now, it would taste sweeter for sure.
Yeah.
But still, like people were loving it like crazy. But no, I've been very fortunate that.
Yeah. So you've never had to like try and restart something?
No.
Because I wonder what the low intervention process would be to restart something. Because I've restarted one before, and it was a pain in the ass.
With commercial yeast or no?
Yes, with commercial.
Okay, yeah. Because I've done that before for other wineries too, and it's a process. Like, but like you're just adding so much shit to the wine to like clean it up.
Yeah, it's not even
then, like,
wine at that point almost.
No.
I mean, it's wine.
Not that you really have to put it on the label.
Yeah.
Not that you have to put anything really on these labels, but
yeah.
No, I've been lucky that
if Gallo can say their wine, then that's wine too.
It's great.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't listen to the podcast, which I actually don't even know, but they might. Who knows?
Yeah, what were we saying?
Oh, just restarting, like stuck fermentation.
No, so just going back to like finding like growers that I really like working with that do a really good job, that have really clean fruit.
Because like why would a ferment get stuck? I mean, there's a lot of different things in my head, but you just talked about the growers. So I'm like, okay, could it come from also the vineyard? Because
like if you've got, pretty like destroyed gross fruit, it's going to have a bunch of other non-yeast microorganisms on it that are going to like compete and eventually, maybe knock out your yeast populations.
Right.
And then there's certain vineyards out there that like just don't carry yeast loads on them. So you bring it into the winery and it might start a little bit from like house yeast that's floating around, but it's not going to be strong enough to fully kick it off. So,
So I have an uncomfortable question, a little bit.
Here it is. Let me take a sip of wine here.
Go ahead. So
prep yourself.
I mean, I've talked with a lot of people, a lot of wine professionals that have been in the business for a long time, and there's this ongoing debate between native yeast and a lot of the conventional. It seems like the conventional winemakers and growers are saying, well, it's not necessarily native yeast. It's just like whatever is the most dominant yeast that's floating around in your winery that's starting it.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on that? Like, I tried to kind of combat it because in Santa Barbara, that's where my wine journey began, and all people that I'm friends with down there, they do a lot of native ferments, and one of them, Piedra Sassi, Sashi Mormon, and Raj Par, they started their own yeast culture within that specific vineyard.
Yeah.
And they do a Pied de Cuvée or Pied de Cuve to start their ferments a lot of times, and also Whitcraft, the same kind of thing.
Yep. I've done Pied de Cuve before.
You do?
It's a process.
Yeah.
I don't do it anymore. I think it's
unnecessary,
it's just it's a lot of work, and I feel like it didn't work out for me. Like I feel like my ferments are kicking off
just fine
by themselves.
Yeah.
So
did you do that because you wanted to try something, or because
wanted to try science shit basically?
Yeah,
and
play
around.
around.
Like this is fun. Like
See what you could do.
Yeah.
But like, what do you think? Do you think it is whatever the most dominant yeast in your cellar is that's starting the native ferment, or?
Yeah, for sure. There's like, that plays a huge role. Like what's floating around your cellar. I think for us in this space, we've never had commercial yeast in here before. And it's never been a winery previous to us.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't be any like commercial yeast strains floating around.
But then are you worried about Brettanomyces, also known as Brett, wild yeast strain for those people out there?
I mean, like there's Brett that comes in on the grapes. I guess I'm not super worried about it. Maybe I should be. But I think for the most part, the grapes that we bring in, tend to be pretty clean. And I think the majority of the microorganisms are Saccharomyces, and it finishes fermentation for us. So
you haven't had a problem with Brett or anything like that?
Not a huge problem, I don't think. I think there's probably little bits here and there, but not over the top. And to be completely honest, I'm like very not sensitive to Brett for some reason. Like other people that are like, holy shit, this is like a Brett bomb.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit me as bad. So
yeah. When I think of Brett,
is there Brett in this Carbo Barbo? Is that what you're saying?
There's no Brett. There's no Brett. No.
Is that the uncomfortable conversation we're having?
No, for those of you listening, every wine I've had from Armour Wines has been very clean as far as wine faults are concerned. Also very beautiful and complex in flavor profile. So you're good on all this. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why this podcast is happening. Because if I tasted your wines and I thought they weren't good, I wouldn't do this podcast with you. You know, it's like I'm here because I'm a fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't do any podcasts. If I'm not,
we should do that one time. Just get one person we just don't like.
Just don't like. Yeah. Just
don't tell them that, obviously. But
and I think like
super uncomfortable. I don't want to be fake. I hate being fake. I
never said we'd have to be fake.
I would just tell them that their wine sucks.
Can you do better, please?
my background going back to like the cheese making.
Yeah.
Like you have to be like super clean, like to make cheese, or else people die.
Yeah.
So I think I was fortunate to start my kind of food processing journey in a cheese making facility.
Yeah.
Because I'm like over the top clean freak when it comes time for harvest and just cleaning everything. Which I think helps, especially making low intervention wines, like, to not have that like dirty production room smell. And
yes, I think I've been to a handful of wineries that they are just not organized or not clean.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me to look at that and say, oh, great, I'm drinking your wine and this is what your production facility looks like.
Yeah.
I think, and it's definitely a practice that it's a at-home practice and it's at work practice. And I think it is so important, especially for the winemakers, to take it more seriously than some do.
Yeah.
And
because if you have like a dirty production room, like I feel like you could smell it in the glass. Like,
yes. And you can have all the money in the world, but just because you have all the money doesn't mean your wine's going to be clean if you're not cleaning up after your production facility.
I've seen, because some people make the excuse like, oh, well, we have a really small space.
Doesn't matter.
But I've seen these smallest spaces,
for example, here,
be completely organized and clean, like yours and like Tanya from Essia. We were just talking about that off air, and like she has a little garage, in her house, and that she makes beautiful wines.
Yeah, very clean, beautiful wines.
Yeah, and so do you. And it's like, you don't necessarily have to have like all the bells and whistles and a huge space. You just have to be organized and clean and figure it out for yourself.
Yep.
And,
When you even worked, I think it was the Carhartts, you said that they had like tools for inside and for outside.
So the
which
Carhartts
is not always necessary, but it's the importance of bringing whatever's outside inside and vice versa.
The Carhartts are, in my opinion, known in my mind for going above and beyond and being completely above reproach with like everything. Like they go out of their way to make sure like everything is dialed in, everything's thought through to the T. And so like they also do low intervention wines there as well.
Gotcha,
They do a mix. They do some conventional and they do commercial yeast, and then they also do a lot of native stuff. And so it really depends because they have two labels. And one thing that Chase Carhart was telling me, and he was on the pod, I think episode 10 or 12 or something like that. But when I worked there, it was like these are inside tools only.
Yep.
Like squeegees, brooms or whatever it is. These are inside tools only, and these are outside tools only.
Yeah.
So for cleaning up the crush pad, there's a different tool that you have to grab than the inside tools. But you never want to mix them. You'll get yelled at.
I've tried not to yell. I mean, I don't think I'm a yeller. Like, I talk strongly to a lot of interns about like, let's not put that on the ground. Let's lean that up. It's just small things I think that that make a difference when it all adds up.
So you have interns that work with you?
No, like previous winemaking.
Oh, previous winemaking. Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
I have 3 children that are interns.
For life.
They don't have a choice.
Don't have a choice in that.
Yeah, but that's also just a great thing to teach those kids from the get-go. I mean, especially with this new day and age of children coming out, they probably could use that lesson.
Yeah.
No offense to the younger generations listening, but it is concerning some days.
You guys need to work.
Oh my gosh, I went
Hustle and
to
work.
this is totally off subject, but I went to a coffee shop in Chelan the other day, and the balls on them. I got my the card reader back, and it was 20, 30, 40, or 50% tip.
What?
And I was like, you're high.
For a coffee shop?
And they're like maybe in high school. And I'm
50%?
50% for a coffee shop. And it was drive-through only.
Yeah.
And I was like, You literally just heated up a burrito in a microwave and made me a Red Bull with coconut milk in it.
Yeah.
Like you literally just went like this.
Servers at fine dining restaurants don't get 50%. So
No. Where they actually bust their butts.
Yeah, where they actually do a
But
lot of
I'm
things.
like looking at this little high schooler and was like, you're not even giving me an option below 20%.
It's wild.
She's trying to save it for AirPods or something like that. I don't know.
Probably. I was just like, oh my gosh. And like people are getting so like sick of tipping. And I think, well, and that just like proves
well, everyone's
that
kind of constrained right now with the economy right now. It's kind of crazy. That's why we see a lot of wine sales decline.
Yeah, huge decline.
Just kind of, it sucks, but
but the tipping.
We've been trying to combat
chill.
that, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I also got I was getting my air filters clean on my furnace and stuff, and they're like, "Do you want a tip?" And I'm like, "To do your job?"
Yeah.
No.
It's a little wild. Yeah.
Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
But interesting topic. I could rant about that all day.
But yeah.
Even though, like, tip me all the time.
But when it comes to me,
that 50% makes
50%
sense.
sounds great.
Definitely 50% for Jasmine. If you see her in a tasting room, go tip her 50%, please. But no, I first learned about your style of winemaking through when you were at Fielding Hills before, and then you did the concentric program. And I'm a wine nerd, and my parents live in Manson, Chelan area. And they texted me, they're like, a picture of this Gamay. Because, you know, when I was going through all of my sommelier certifications, I wanted, you know, Burgundy, but I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And so I went to Beaujolais, and I was like, wow, this is phenomenal. For $45 to get Cru Beaujolais. For 45 or less a lot of times. And now it's like 70 or less. But, you know, depends on...
Here we are.
Happens.
Depends on which one you get. That's because like sommeliers and stuff started propping up Beaujolais, and everyone started buying it, which is great because I love Gamay. And so when I saw Carbonic Gamay, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. Like in Chelan, this is awesome. And so they gave me a bottle of it, and I was like, okay, this is good. This is really good. I like this. Like, I like where this is going. And then I was like, who made this? And they're like, oh, Tyler Armour from Fielding Hills. And I was like, okay, cool. And then after that, I just started following you. Because like, and no offense to anyone, Fielding Hills isn't necessarily my style of wine. And so I don't really gravitate towards their brand necessarily, but the Concentric project was awesome. And then I just started following you wherever you went. And then when you came out with your own label, I was like, I have to try them. So I'm so glad to have you on the podcast, man.
This is great.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing, and I love what you're doing. So sign up for the wine club.
That will be on the website.
It'll be on the website.
Can they email?
I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
Can they email anyone for the wine club? Or?
Yeah, I mean, you can like contact form on the website,
cool.
and we'll get you signed up for sure.
Yeah.
It's just not like a super
official
fancy form on the website. But yeah, we'll
work
get
on
you
that
signed
later
up.
today.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Sign up for the wine club. At some point, I will be a wine club member.
There we go.
I love everything you do. So this is my like third wine of yours I've tried. And
Only third. Jeez,
only
we need
third.
This is my first.
This is my
Holy
third.
moly.
Yeah, I've had your
Except
Gamay.
from Fielding Hills, but
Okay, yeah.
I think I've had your Gamay, your Viognier, and then this guy. So
we're gonna open something else.
we're gonna open something else.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, trying to get a wine club out of this, baby. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to hear more from Tyler Armour and their wines, take a peek at the show notes in the description. We'll have links to their website and their wine club and their social media. So go follow them, support them. They're amazing. They make awesome wines, and you will never regret buying a bottle. So
yes.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Tyler.
That's good.
We're not cheersing.
Oh, sorry.
You
Turn it back on.
God, has it been this long?